Hello and welcome to this special interview. I am your host Sunil Warrior, and I have with me two well known personalities who have made a name for themselves in their respective fields. Shantanu Moitra is a national award winning composer who is well known for providing music in films like Parinita, Munnabai, MBBS, Three Idiots, and several others across many languages. My other guest is wildlife cinematographer S. Nallamuthu, who first chronicled the life of Ranthambore popular tigress Machli and went on to win an award for it. Currently, he is filming the life of Tadoba's queen Maya. Shantanu and Nallamuthu have come together to produce a tiger anthem as part of the Times of India's initiative hashtag Saving Our Stripes. How did they join hands to produce the Tiger Anthem? Will it touch the right emotional chord for everyone, from children to adults to the decision makers of the country? How did they fall in love with the national animal of India? What are their favorite moments? Let's hear from them.
We all have our favorite tiger tales. My favorite tiger tale is about Maya in Tadoba. Maya is the queen of Tadoba. She is trying to attack a big herd of Indian bisons and Indian gaurs, and the gaurs are trying. There's a baby, there's a calf in that, and the calf is being surrounded by all the adults. Maya is hungry. She's still trying to attack the calf. Eventually the Gaurs managed to drive her away. This is my favorite tiger story. I'm sure both Shantanu and Nalla have their own favorite tiger stories. What is your favorite story, Shantanu? How did you fall in love with the national animal of India, Shantanu?
Actually, my initiation into the world of tigers and world of wildlife was very bizarre, completely touristy. I had done some work for Rajasthan tourism, and in lieu of that work that I had done, I had got a pair of complimentary tickets on Palace on Wheels, and this was many years back. This was part of the promotion when they were trying to promote Palace on Wheels. So my wife and me had gone, and there were many other people from all over the world. And one of the stops was Ranthambore. So as we got down from the train, the group was bifurcated into two groups. One was pink group, one was blue group. So pink group entered the Ranthambore Wildlife Park from one place, and the blue group from the other place. And the idea was that at the end of the day, who has seen tigers and what is going to happen? We're going to match notes in the train when it moves again. And I still remember, I think 1.5, 2 hours before that, I had gone 3, 4 times to Jim Corbett. I had not seen a tiger. And for me, I thought that it was a figment of imagination. There were no tigers in our country. This was just a marketing ploy to attract tourism. And that particular day it was raining. I still remember, drizzle, light drizzle, and as usual. And I was very skeptical. So we had a 2 hour kind of safari. Um, I think 1 hour 45 minutes had passed. Now basically getting ready to turn around and come there. And I was totally at peace because I know tigers don't exist. So suddenly our guide stopped and said, "Look ahead." And I can never forget this sight. There was a mother, and there were three small cubs who were just walking on that path. It was empty. It was walking on that path. It was drizzling light. And for a fraction of a second, while the kids were playing around, his mother turned around and just looked. I think that was the defining moment of not just seeing the tiger, understanding what the power of this majestic creature, one of the most beautiful things you've seen. It's one thing to hear about it, it's one thing to read about it, but it's one thing to see it. And I think I was like totally smitten by this royal animal, where for the first time you as a man realize that you are in his or her territory. They are not in our territory. Suddenly you became a little more humble. I think that was my first time that I saw, and after 2 3 years of going to national parks, that was the first time I saw. And then, of course, I've been very fortunate. But yes, that was the first. The love at first sight was then.
Okay, Nalla, what about you? What is your tiger story? How did you start? How did you just fall in love with the animal?
See that I started following tigers. The main reason is I used to work as a cameraman, cinematographer for channels who come from abroad to make film on tigers. My job is to just make sequence and send it, and they always take the material and go back and edit and they make a film. Sometimes I do a sequence. Sometimes I work for the whole film for a month, 2 months. But at the end of the day, if you see the final product, I always realize it's been told from their perspective. And most of the time, those days I'm talking about 90s, very hardly any Indian producers who produce film on their own, and mostly they abroad, the international crew come and make film. Hardly anyone may produce film. I work as a freelancer, but when you put all your blood and you try to tell a story and try to make a sequence and give every footage, when you see the end product, it's all the stories from their perspective. So I thought, as an Indian, and we have a natural heritage of tiger, which is thought. I mean, every tiger is a character. I'm from Film Institute. I see every even animal also as a character. That's what all my films. I thought might as well follow one character and make a film. So in that perspective, I thought of telling a story from our Indian perspective. So that is my first idea, to tell a story from our perspective, our story, so that the local story reaches worldwide. So I tried. There's hardly anyone to fund. No, we used to go and pitch projects, and international channels normally, even today, they fund filmmakers like us, even after producing all these things. So we decided to put our own, self fund, and started following a tiger. That's why I started filming. So followed years and years and years till I get a story. Sometimes I spend 2 years, sometimes 4 years. So that's where my connection of tiger follow. So like that I followed. I mean, a decade I'm following this tigers.
So, Nala, your job must have entailed numerous sightings. You must have seen, I mean, probably more than 500, or maybe even 1,000 sightings you had. Do you have one good sighting that this is the best I have ever had in my mind, or do you just see it from a very, very, very kind of a producer kind of angle?
Not as a producer, as a storyteller, yes. For
Hmm.
me, I don't know, unlike others, I produce 6 films. All the films are character driven. I follow one family of tiger, and I follow them from 3 months to till separation. I mean, mainly I shot in Ranthambore and I'm shooting in Tadoba and following a character called Maya. I followed this character called Machli, who is world famous and most photographed, and her siblings. So in that, we get to see a lot of stories, lot of small sequences. But end of the day, the idea is to make an emotional story. So that's what I always look for it, because my first film is again when Machli had three sub-adults, both all the three are daughters. I mean, Machli itself herself, she got the territory from her mother, and she was ruling. She's almost 13, 14 years, and this is the last litter. So I went there. I mean, I know that there's going to be some sort of a story, some sort of a battle going to happen when they fight each other for territory. I mean, obviously, females will fight each other to get the territory. So that time landed. So in that way, if you see a lot of sequences. The thing is, I mean, if you ask me one particular thing, obviously I followed Machli over a period of 7 years.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, 7 years. Because in that process, I managed to do three full films, but I was keep following and following. Because normally, see, most of the films they always follow from child to separation. This was the first film from prime to death. It's a world famous tiger. And prime to death is always, it's very few people have covered it. And if you see when a tiger become old age, the kind of a life they go through. So I thought might as well follow, because she was being thrown out from the daughter and she was staying alone. Male is also, she lost her mate and male died. She was struggling. Her whole earlier later son comes and fight for this. It was a big, very difficult survival. But it's such a destiny. I managed to get her last breath, which is the first time in natural history we managed to shoot a famous tiger dying on camera. So that's a moment, because I was alone. I was alone shooting, and I mean, you can see it's called the world's most famous tiger, which is in OTT
Yeah.
platform. That's a moment, which I always call. I mean, there's a destiny which I managed to get a natural death. It's not. We have seen a lot of kill and a lot of blood and everything in the forest, and every day you see it, poaching and what you call territorial fight death. But this peaceful, a death, which is a victory, which is and she's. our gene pool has generated more than 50 tigers. No, so you are filming a tiger which is a no, which is just generated 50 tigers, big forest. So that particular moment of capturing that I mean, we can call it this. It's a celebration of life, and that was a moment which I always think it was a great opportunity for me to capture it and document it as a documentary camera.
That's, I mean, that's amazing. That's a wonderful narration of. I mean, I could visualize myself being there in Nalla's gypsy and getting. I've seen Nalla work close from very close quarters in Tadoba, so I can still visualize myself being there and watching Machli die. Shantanu, what about you? I mean, you said your first sighting was your oh wow moment, but has there been subsequent great moments that you have had? Any great sightings?
It's. I mean, I'm fortunate after that. I maybe after that first love, you were addicted to that love, and you wanted to see more and more of it. And then I have a few friends in the world of wildlife who have dedicated their lives to that. Um, One of the I will never be able to do sightings like Nalla has done because 7 years he was following one tiger. It's like unbelievable. It's like 7 years I'm creating one song. That kind of dedication. But I think for me it was always more from a tourist perspective. That's how you did, and I don't know why. For me, more than the actual sighting of the tiger, being a music guy and a sound guy, I love what happens to the environment around when a tiger is present. How the bird calls change, how the rustles change, how the calls change, how the human being changes, how um, generally human beings are not very respectful by nature. Uh, but even the loudest of groups who enter a park, I have seen them shut up uh, when there is a tiger in the presence. So I think there is something about that. Um, I was doing 100 days in Himalayas with my and Nalla's friend Vritiman Mukherjee. So we were in Jim Corbett. It's one of my favorite parks. I just love the landscape of the place. And I remember we just entered the park. I put my luggage and bag in the thing, and Didi got a call saying that there is a sighting in a particular place, and I went there. Um, I think for all tiger lovers, the more than tiger sighting, the biggest kick or thrill is can we see it when others are not around? Because when you're locking a camera, those 10 jeeps behind is an absolute killer. It just kills your joy. But in that particular day, I was so fortunate that there was in that park there was only there, and this tiger was lying down on the ground. And I'm not a very experienced guy about all this. I love it, but I'm not experienced. And it was you have seen my head, so there's hardly any hair in it. Hardly there's no hair in it. It was a hot day, and I thought ki 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, then the guy will go, then I'll go ahead. We'll go ahead. That damn tiger didn't move for 1.5 hours. And if the tiger is not moving, nobody will move. And I was like getting fried. But also after some time, I got used to the heat and I started observing the tiger and I said, my God, every movement is absolutely, how to put it, so emotion felt. Just, just putting away a fly. It's so human the way it does it. The tail doing stuff. Nalla, while working on this project with Nalla, he told me how tail is such an incredible form of communication for them, which I didn't know that time. And then after some time, there's another, I think a cub came. They just as if when we were growing up, the way I would probably use my father's back to just roll over, do things. And I could see that. My childhood came alive when I saw the tiger and that cub for 1.5 hours in that place. And I think that for me was a very defining moment because otherwise they're just fleeting. You can see things like that because you're entering a park for a particular point and you're a part of a guide and things like that. But that day, and you know what's the amazing part is, after 1.5 hours, the tiger started walking towards us, and that was like, it just basically stopped and was started drinking water. The sight of a tiger drinking water, that face, and I was looking through the lens, and that water, it's just so beautiful. It's ethereal. It's like meditation, just lapping up the water, and I could hear the sound, clack, clack, clack. And then when it was over, it just looked around and just walked away. Poetry. We talk about poetry. I saw poetry that day in front of me.
Wonderful. Tigers when they're drinking water, they are face down, but they want when they want to relax in the water, they are always walking back and putting their body into the water and cooling down. That also, just the relaxing tiger is also a wonderful sight. My next question is, both of you all come from such a diverse background. How long have you all in a earlier conversation? Actually, you all told us. I mean, you told me that you know each other for a long time. How long have you known each other, and how do you view each other's work? Nala, would you like to go first on this?
Yeah, I mean, me and Shantanu, and we are from Delhi. I mean, I was in Delhi for more than 15 years and doing television. If you see, I mean, my first project with television was an environment show for Doordarshan. At that time, that was the first environment show. So that's the reason I get to see a lot of all the forests and animals and things. So all this first thing, like anything on first environment show, first travel show, first religious show, first automobile show, and first reality show. We're doing everything is always offbeat stuff, it's not the normal stuff. So I mean, and again, like Sandhanu, like it's always we work something which we always wanted to break these boundaries and do something different. And we also work with a person like Pradeep Da, which we both know each other very well. Outstanding visualizer and person. We all worked, and our whole dream is to do something, always do something offbeat and do something different. So he's done a lot in advertisement. As a person, he's from art director to advertisement to feature. Like that, we just started growing, each other, traveling in this media and doing everything first, and So in that process, obviously, Sandhu is also did his first. I mean, I don't know if first or not the Parinita,
Yes,
which is completely an offbeat music, which blown everyone's, given a completely change. We thought there's always a connection of that, Usual. We normally didn't do anything usual. No, usually people does a lot of things. Even if my documentary, you see, people always say documentary means interviews. All my 6 films, hardly any. There's not even one interview. No, visual driven. Like that, he tells something, the story through music. I tell through visuals. So that's a kind of a journey. And again, he's in a wildlifer. Now it's very few people are wildlifers and artists and musicians. No, so it's like, so that's kind of a connection always that we have met so many times in the parks. So that's sort of a connection which is long. End of the day, doing something different, breaking the boundaries and do something, always out of the box. So that was our kind of a connection which is there, which is still continuing. And we are also, I think, this Tiger Anthem which we are planning to do is also the first time we are doing it. It's again, it's a new. It's not that usual stuff. It's like, so that's the idea. We do something different. The whole idea is to tell a story through music, which is very very new. I mean, that too, yeah, what do you call, kind of a wildlife subject, because it's non-fiction kind of subject, documentary content. We're trying to put to tell a story and add some emotion, music into that. So this is a kind of a thing, and that's that. I mean, we hardly interact within a second. We just connect each other. We just do it, and you send it, and we put together. So that's always a language which you speak without any this thing. So that's my connection with Sandhanu.
What about you, Shantanu? Were you in awe of this, or jealous? I would say jealous of Nala's as a tiger aficionado. Were you jealous that this guy is always in a gypsy, getting to see so many tigers? How do you view Nala's work, Shantanu?
yeah, totally jealous, but I also know the hard work which goes behind it. And he sees tigers not because he's lucky. He sees tigers because he puts that much more extra than anybody else. That's my way. Anyway, he was talking about Delhi. That time, Sunil, Delhi, there was only one watering hole, which was a place for editing, shooting, and all that. Remember a place called Jain Studios? So anybody doing anything would come there. And that was the place where you exchange ideas, what's happening. That's when I saw Nalla. I had no clue that time. And I'm sure Nalla also had no clue that this will become his vocation in life. He was just as he said, he was just a cameraman who was telling stories for other people, and that's how I remember Nalla. We had a common friend later on who was assistant, um, who was a DOP on Parinita Nandla,
Nati,
um,
Nati.
Natti. So Natarajan was his assistant. So we used to meet. But one thing which I'll tell you that many years later, um, I was getting to know about um, Nalla's films. I saw it without knowing that it is this Nalla. You
Okay.
know, because I told you when I saw him, this was not this Nalla. It's like somebody who knew me from school and college. If they heard one of my music, they will not relate. This is the same guy. This guy used to play cricket with us. What's he doing with music? It's like that. So I remember when I'd gone to one of the trips, I'd gone to Ranthambore and Nalla had there, and so there was this buzz, Nalla, 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 Nalla. Hey, Nalla is there. So I said, okay, let me go and meet this guy's like a legend. Who is this guy? So when I said, hey, तू क्या कर रहा है? So that was a connection. And I said, you are this Nalla. He said, yeah. And that was, I think, very beautiful because we knew each other when we were not, how do I put it? We didn't achieve things in our life. That's why it's a very, very interesting bond. Uh, but one of the things, Sunil, which absolutely um, blows my mind about Nalla is that what a storyteller. And without dialogues, without acting, without makeup, without lights, human observation of another species. That's it. That's it. While I was working, even then, I remember in Ranthambore that day, he showed me a footage that he had taken a few days back. And I still remember there was a tiger cub who was playing, bacha playing with the mother. That's it. But camera held, and it was poetry. And through that emotions, I could see storyteller that the kid is irritating the mother is telling to go, but also mother is aware that she should go far, so one eye is on it. Everything was clear, without any dialogues, nothing. And then he showed me one of his short films, which was extremely heartfelt. Maybe I think initial days of Machli. So I said, this guy is like a OTT platform ka serial kar raha hai wo. He's like a director. Only he's instead of actors and human beings, he's got tigers.
Yeah.
And that for me is the most unique part about Nalla is that he's a storyteller. He's not looking after a great shot. He doesn't care for a great shot. He's looking for a true and honest moment, which can make us understand this species better. I think that is what attracts me most about Nalla, and what that is why when this opportunity of this anthem came, I was like, wow, because this is exactly what I'm trying to achieve through music. How many instruments I'm using in that music is not important. What, where in the heart am I touching that through my melody? That is more important to me, and that's why this collaboration was very, very precious to me.
So, which means I'm safe. I can safely assume that you all never thought that tigers would bring you together
Totally,
for a project,
totally,
and this is the first time that such a thing is happening. A music director from a field of films and jingles and a wildlife filmmaker coming together to do something for tigers, right,
absolutely,
Shantanu?
absolutely. And I will add that to this that this is again comes from uh, a deep respect for each other's work. I think this is the first time I can safely say I'm also a Sunil. I'm a World Wildlife Fund ambassador for human and animal coexistence. So I can tell you with authority that never before has a film or a song on conservation happened from the perspective of the child, the cub. It's a very important point I'm making, Sunil. Somehow, even in our everyday lives, human species, children get left out. How many films on children are made in a year? Okay. Uh, how many songs for children are made in a year? Uh, how many restaurants have you gone which is primarily for children? Okay. It's an adult world.
True.
Okay, and I think that is why it was such an important thing that Nalla and me kind of stumbled upon. Um, that why don't we tell the story from the cub's point of view? Because it's an innocent child. He thinks this is the world: trees, blue skies, mother. He has no idea of dangers ahead in his life, and the biggest danger is us. Forget anything else. The
Yeah.
child does not know, and that is when the idea came that let's do this song from this tiger. I think that has never happened, which is extremely exciting for us.
So Shantanu, when TY first discussed this Tiger anthem with you, what came to mind? Did you think it was really workable? I mean, how did you approach the project? I just want to dig in your mind and say, I mean, find out what. I mean, it was a completely bare slate that we started work with, right? We just said we want to do a Tiger anthem. We didn't know what clips we would be using, what music, what lyrics, nothing. I would like to know from Shantanu how did you make this entire project workable?
So I think first and foremost, the first step is that my admiration for Nalla's footage, and that I told you in Ranthambore, I remember a footage he had shown of the child playing with the mother. That was deeply embedded in my head. It was so deeply embedded in my head that I think a good 10 years have passed by. I have not even spoken to Nalla, but that image stays with me every day. So when Times of India approached me with this project, uh, I just wanted to be closer to that image. I didn't know the story. I did nothing. I just want to be closer to the image with the person who has made it. Um, you are right. It was an open canvas. We could do this, we could do that, and sometimes I think that the great thing about working with Times of India was this, that they also kept it open. They said that uh, let's take it where it organically goes. And I met I met Nalla. Fortunately, see, again, it's a matter of timing. Sunil is that he has, and he'll tell you the reason why, that he's in this point of thing in his point of life that he decided to move to Bombay to pursue his other chapter of his life. Maybe coming from an emotional heartbreak that one of the cubs he was following for a long, long time died, and you need to break away for some time. And for that, he came to Bombay, and that is when this project happened. And when I called up Nalla, I said, "Where are you?" He said, "I'm in Bombay." And he's like, pretty much it's 2 lanes down my house, What is the probability of that? So I went to Nalla to discuss. He said, "Before doing anything, I want to share you some footage with you." And I saw the footages and all that. And Nalla's images, they're like mind boggling. But what again came out was this mother and cub relationship, which is the most pristine in the entire ecosystem of the world that we're talking about. The most pristine, most beautiful, most pure. Yet, ever lurking dangers. What will the father do? What's going to happen 18 months down the line when the cub grows? He'll be on his own. Who is going to protect that? Mother has other responsibilities to deal. So all these things were like an OTT series for me. So I think the idea again came to, for me, whenever a complex issue is being talked about, it's best heard from a child, because then you pay attention. I have seen this often, that in a house full of adults, as soon as the kid wants to say something, everybody shuts up. And that's it. I wanted that power of attention coming from a child and the innocence of the child. And I think that was the basic idea. Rest was the footage, and I was very clear to write this. It has to be somebody who can talk about a very, very complex issue, but use metaphors which are very simple. I had worked with this incredible um poet. And look at the coincidence of this project. Incidentally, he happens to stay very near Nagpur, where half the time Nalla is spent in Tadoba. His name was Tanveer Ghazi, who he had wrote one of the most important dialogues on um, women's rights about no means no in the movie Pink. You know,
Okay.
he had written that song which Mr. Bachchan recites at the end. He had written the poetry. Tanveer Ghazi is a poet. He doesn't stay in Bombay by choice. More importantly, young guy who loves the mushaira world. He travels from stage to stage, talking about sharing his poetry. But for key projects, I bring him out of Nagpur. He reluctantly does that because he loves his own place. And I thought he was the right for this. And I got Tanveer to Nalla's, the same place where he's sitting right now. We sat down and saw all these footages. You know, in the song, there is a line which best describes this participation. The line says कि माटी में खो खो खेले ले.
Yeah.
It is such an incredible imagery.
Yeah.
Because when you're playing Coco, you don't know dangers of life. It's beautiful. Everybody has played these games when you are growing up on stage. That line for me is decisive about how fragile, how innocent is this kid. He's playing Coco. No idea that what's going to happen, you know? And I think that's why the casting of this project was very important, and I'm so happy. So there were only very four players in this song. One was, of course, Nalla with his footage. One was Tanveer Ghazi with his writing. One was me with my music. And one I must mention was TOI because they were like a shepherd who just told us where to go, but never prompted us as to how to go.
Yeah.
As a creative person, our biggest freedom is we're going to figure out how to reach there. And I think that is why this song, this idea, it's not just a song, it's a communication, it's a story. It's very, very precious because it comes from a deep sense of need. We need to tell the story. We need to highlight this thing. That's how we conceive this.
Lovely, lovely, Shantanu. That was wonderful hearing how you conceptualize the entire music and lyrics and going by. Wonderful hearing. Nala, I just want to ask you, Shantanu was talking about his the images that he's seen, the cub and the tigress in Ranthambore. I have seen Nala shooting those cubs in Tadoba. I have also seen Nala's images sharing those videos in the on social media platforms. What does a tiger anthem mean to you, Nala? Do you think it will awaken everyone's consciousness that not only is it important to save the species but also create forest habitats for the tiger, which is dwindling. I mean, dwindling by amazing. I would say, there's no. I mean, there's no time frame in which soon we will be like there won't be any forest remaining, protected areas. What does a tiger anthem mean to you, Nala?
See, it's a tiger anthem. It's apart from that, what I wanted to add, what Sandhanu was talking about is about, I mean, it's very, easy to capture, cubs playing around, running around, all these things have been done to death. But what is important to capture that moment of, that interaction between the mother and the cub. Always you can see in my film, like what he was telling about this communicating through tail, which is all observation, how they communicate and how they how these cubs follow. When all these things been captured, but I'm always I've seen so many bad things and good things on tiger cubs, but I'm very much emotionally attached with this tiger cubs. A lot because I've seen tiger cubs dying because of mother is not been killed by some other male or something, and they become orphan. I've seen, I mean, for example, I was following Maya in Tadoba. I was literally follow this character for more than 12 months. And one fine morning, when you enter the forest, that she's roaring and looking for the cub. No one knows what the reason she lost the cub. Then again, I thought, she's always an unlucky, mother. So she'll bring against all odds, and finally, these cubs, keep losing the cubs. It's very hardly one offspring has been successful. That is also not sure about it. And again, I decided to follow the second one. Second, again, next later, she had four cubs, and there was a corona in between. So after corona, I entered the park. She lost all the three cubs, left with only one. Then he thought, okay, this is. I mean, I'm talking about 2.5, 3 years. You follow a second generation, still there is no story. I mean, you spend more than 200 to 300 safaris There's no story. She lost the cup. Again, she was roaring. It was raining. She was looking for a cup, and I mean, we all everything been captured on camera. Then I thought, okay, let me. I mean, no, I decided no, mentally. I need to do one success story of Maya. Again, a third liter I followed it. The minute I heard she's got only one cup. No, I mean, I don't know whether it's about three, and she left with only one. You won't believe I followed this one single cup more than 5 to 6 months. And one day again the same thing happened. She was again crying and howling, and the whole forest looking for the cup she lost. There is a lot of reasons behind it. But then I thought, okay, now I think it's not she's not unlucky. I think I am the unluckier person because whenever I am following her, she always loses a cup. Let's give a break. That's the reason I just shifted. I said, let me do something else. Then I was in Bombay. There was a coincidence, and TOS contacted me. So that is an emotion which this I can dedicate these particular whatever the visuals which I am going to provide for those cubs which we lost it because of so much of conservation. So many reasons. No male female ratio issue. There is that what do you call space issues. A lot of issues. I mean, instead of talking all these things, might as well try to talk this emotional story through this song, which is a tiger anthem which you're creating. Instead of telling all these complicated facts and figures, and might as well get into their emotional part of how mother is trying to bring up this cub against all odds, and finally, again, still she's got to go. I think now again she's mating. No, Maya's mating. She's got there's a kind of a she still wanted to carry on. So the idea is anthem is to tell a complicated whatever the complicated message, dilute it in a musical form, try to tell an emotional story, which definitely can reach lot of people. I mean, again, the song is such. It's like any layman can right from old to children, they can relate this song and the visuals. So I think it's a great initiative to tell stories through music. I mean, whether it's called a tiger anthem or a musical tiger story, and it's a great initiative. It should work, and I mean, and with this, what I can say, a lot of people, a lot of photographers are nowadays started taking a lot of small clips. They will try to put musics and try to put it in a social media. This may create a big trend I mean, you can see, you can see the Facebook. They always put some one or two clips, but now they might use it so that can with social media it can spread. So it's always a positive, feel good images will create create good thing. It's good for the tigers.
I want to add something to what Nalla is saying is that Sunil. Also, the truth is that though we are calling this a tiger anthem, it's a song about life. Uh,
Yeah,
the words are so true for our children too. Um, तन्नाना 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 टेढ़ी मेढ़ी सी ये खुशियां चिंता कैसी तू है ना माँ ये हवा बातुनी ये सुबह साबुनी धूप है गुनगुनी पानियों में तैरे यूं हीरे this could be our children.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, what is happening to playgrounds? High-rise buildings are happening. There is nowhere place to play. Now children are playing their games on their mobile phones and their computers. If we are not careful, tomorrow who will create an anthem for us? So I think in many ways this is also a big lesson when any conservation story. It's not about them and us. It's all of us. We all get affected by it, and that is why this song is so special.
Yeah, TUI has actually managed to create some buzz. We've been carrying those small little announcements. A lot of readers are sending in their photographs of wildlife, and you must have been seeing in the papers that all our editions are full of tiger stories. And people are also looking forward to participate in the anthem. Shantanu, do you think it will touch the right emotional chord? You are a complete music man. Do you think the lyrics and music will really? Did you have to work on the music a little bit, or was this the first shot that you got it and you got it right? You think?
No, I think the working happens as a back process. I'm a very instinctive guy. To answer your questions, do you think it's going to work? I don't know, but I'll tell you what will work. Nalla's visuals. Uh, you can't do anything but stop and feel when you have a tiger cub caressing the mother's face. You can't. The hardest of a human being is going to melt looking at that. So I have the great advantage of having Nalla's visuals and makes my job easier as soon as they come together. And I think why it's going to work is, as I said, it's from a tiger cub's perspective, sung by children. And I
Yeah.
think always once we hear children, my biggest reference was R.D. Burman's "Lakdi ki kaati kaati mein ghoda, घोड़े पे दुम पे जो मारा हथौड़ा." That for me in that entire film was such a incredible that the child was going through in that character was so many things, but in that moment of innocence, three kids forget everything else and they just participate in this nursery rhyme. For me, that is the perspective that I had for this album.
Wonderful. And I'm sure everybody is, most of our TOI readers are really looking forward to the release of the anthem in the coming days. Nala, what do you expect to change once the anthem is written? In very short, do you think there will be any big changes that can happen? I mean, what kind of change do you expect rather?
No, I mean, obviously, this is going to, I mean, policymakers and in our government side, I always say, because what is lacking in our country is we need to have a dedicated, I mean, not only government channels, and even the private channels and OTT, even all the broadcasters, no one has to come forward to have some sort of a slot or some sort of a series or something which they have to keep producing like this, which is one thing which, I mean, after this they can, I mean, the response they can obviously can plan something for it, which is very important because what is happening is nowadays is happening only in social media. People are trying to put. There's hardly any channel or any OTT or any what corporates and are doing this. So they should come forward to create this sort of an anthem, this sort of a musical thing, this sort of a thing for as a corporate social responsibility or as a series on this on wildlife. We don't have a channel on wildlife in India. We have to end of the day, whatever you do, you have to go to international. We are completely dependent on international channels. Hardly anyone is doing it. So I think these small things can change and they can do something for the wildlife films.
What about you,
Also,
Shantanu?
I was thinking, Sunil, that adding to what Nalla was saying, that these days our entire world is this mobile phone through which people are expressing themselves, and I think some of the reels that I see that people edit on their own is quite amazing. So I think my whole idea was that why don't you, the audience can just pick up any part of the song they like and they can add their own visuals of things they've seen in wildlife. So many people, can you imagine the number of eyes which shoot a tiger sighting these days? Number of mobile phones that people are carrying. So who knows? Somebody has a great footage that we have not seen, an interesting moment. They can create their own video on their mobile phones and share it, and that'll be a great way of taking this forward.
Yeah, I think QA also has to I mean has to start putting that on newspaper to they can after the release people have a free hand to use this music and use their visuals and put it in social media so that what happens there'll be you can also you will also get their stories from their perspective.
Yeah, the
Everyone has got
buzz.
their own
Yeah,
the way
and
we see
you can have a kind of a contest also saying that Nalla is going to look at it in the top three, why get something, because so much of engagement happens for the human being.
Yeah.
So many hours are spent for the human being. How many hours are being spent for another species who we are supposed to coexist with on our planet? I think that is what we have to decide, and either we can talk about it or we can do things about it. I think I'm glad, along with Times of India, being able to do about it.
Well, we come to the final question of the this interview. I would like to ask you and describe in very few couple of words or just couple of sentences. What is that one message that you would like to leave to one tiger lovers, two the decision makers of the country who have to leave that forest habitat for the tigers? Nala, would you like to go first?
Sadhanu is the right person. But I already talked about decision makers and people. Sadhanu, do you add? You
I'll
want to
just
add?
I'll just add one line that from childhood I have understood one thing: if you love something, you need to take care of it. Okay, we keep on saying tiger is the most majestic creature, lovely. The truth is, in a I've heard this person enters a wildlife sanctuary. First thing they ask the guide, "Yeah, but tiger दिखेगा ना?" every other species is not important, tiger is the most important. But I'm saying if that is true, we also have a responsibility to take care of it. You know, I love my mother, I love my father, but not as an idea. If we don't do things about it, when my mother is unwell or my father is unwell, if I don't take care of my mother, what point is even saying that I love this my parents? So I think that is to be understood by everybody, be it policymakers. That if this is the pride of a country, if this is where we really say with pride, oh my God, we have so many tigers. Take care of what this species is. Learn to coexist with somebody else. And for here, it's not just you and me. Here, the policymakers play a huge, huge role. That before quickly understanding that this becomes easy for the human species, spare a thought: will it also be easy for the animal species? That's it. That's my point.
Nala, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I think you said it. I think.
Okay, wonderful. That was a wonderful talking to both of you, Shantanu and Nala. We really look forward to the Tiger Anthem release in the coming days, and we're just hoping that it'll be a big hit and it will touch the right chords. That is the most important thing. The right from the younger generation, because we are telling the story from the Cubs perspective. So right from the younger generation to the adults, that image, the visuals, the lyrics, it should stay with them. We are really
Correct.
thanking that you have joined us in this project. Thanks a lot to both of you.
Thank you, Sunil.
Thank you very much for everyone. Thank you very much.
Well, that was composer Shantanu Moitra and wildlife cinematographer S. Nallamuthu speaking to TUI about their favorite tiger tales and how they came to collaborate for the Tiger Anthem, which will be out for everyone to listen, view, and share. The Tiger Anthem is a celebration of 50 years of Project Tiger, a conservation effort for the wildcat, which has given huge appreciation to India from across the globe. The anthem will be launched by Union Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav on May 24th. Do share it on your social media handles using hashtag Saving Our Stripes. I hope you enjoyed watching this interview. On that note, this is your host Sunil Warrior signing out for now. But do visit www.savingourstripes.com for more content on tigers and wildlife conservation in India.